The North American Caribbean Training Method was started earlier this year in 2020. And the purpose of the program is to give Caribbean coaches in the United States and Canada an opportunity to come together, train, and work with players.
We are going to spread this throughout the United States. This has been a dream of coaches of Caribbean descent in America for a very, very long time. And we have now to work and to get these kids to a different level.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Black Soccer Membership Association podcast. My name is Justin Reed, and I'm going to be your host for today. I got a special guest, Hugh Roberts. He is a professional player at Charlotte Independence. That is a USL Championship League team. So we've got a great discussion. But before we get started, if everyone can just press the like button, the share button, and the subscribe button here on YouTube, and also click the notification button. This way we can continue to keep our podcast going. As you all know, this is a platform for Black players, Black coaches, administrators, and referees. All right. So Hugh, my brother, how's everything going?
It's not too bad. I'm here in the off season now up in Maryland with the family for the holidays, but been training every day, getting ready for this off season, staying in shape, you know.
Awesome stuff, man. Thanks for taking the time out to come onto the show. And we've got a couple topics that we want to talk about today. We want to talk about you, of course, being a professional player. If you can tell our audience a bit more about yourself and I guess the path that you took to get to the USL.
Yeah, so, I've been playing soccer my whole life. My father's Jamaican, went to NC State University, played soccer there. So literally grew up running around, kicking the ball, watching him. I also played basketball as well, though my mother is from, and I was also born in Queens, New York. Grew up playing basketball, grew up around basketball, so it's kind of split in the household between both. But I ended up, being 6'4" in soccer is a little different than being 6'4" in basketball. Stuck to soccer. I also played forward my whole life as well. I got recruited to George Mason University as a striker. And then my sophomore year, they moved me to center back. Did pretty well for myself. We ended up anything after college. Honestly, just went to a bunch of open tryouts, driving all the way down to Florida for like an InfoSport combine, driving up to Harrisburg City Islanders at the time, trying out for like 8 weeks in a row, got cut. Went to Rochester Rhinos, tried out there for like 4 days, got cut as well. And then I went to the Richmond Kickers open tryouts, and coach brought me on after tryouts for 2 more weeks in preseason. Then they eventually signed me, and then it was a year, and then it was a year guaranteed and 2 option years. Picked up my options, guaranteed for another 2 years. So I spent 3 years there in Richmond, and then I went to Philly, and then I went to Pittsburgh, and now I'm here in Charlotte, going into my 8th year next year. But it's been a roller coaster ride everywhere.
I see that, man. And that's pretty cool, because being a professional athlete is something that is not, it doesn't happen every day for everybody, so that is a rare occurrence. I mean, what advice would you give a young player who's probably 16, 17 and thinking about pursuing a professional career?
Yeah, well, first off, a lot of it comes within yourself. I mean, obviously, I'm going to tell you about the mindset and the mentality, but honestly, you have to put in the work yourself. In order for me to get good, I was never a center back my whole life. I didn't turn into center back until the sophomore year in college. I was already 20 years old, so I had to switch my mindset and literally just train every day by myself here in my basement. I'm training all the time in my house, working on my technical abilities, my vision, my passing. Like, you don't get better literally unless you train with no one's watching. That's my thing too. I like training by myself when no one's really watching. So when I get to the field, they think, oh, I'm this and I'm pretty good at those things, but they don't realize it comes from the times where I'm behind closed doors working. that's one thing. And second of all is the mindset aspect. If you know you can do it, like I knew getting cut from Harrisburg, getting cut from Rochester, getting cut from the InfoSport Combine, like it hurt and it sucked, but I just knew that I could do this. And I knew that like so-and-so is getting signed to the MLS, so-and-so is getting signed to the USL. But I'm pretty much at that level where I'm better than that guy. Let me prove it. You just have to prove it. And it comes down to that mindset, because you will get cut and a lot of times you don't get cut because you're not talented. It's just coaches, you don't fit the system. And that's something we can't see. And I've gained experience throughout this USL now that I understand. But a lot of times we get cut just because we don't fit the system, not because we're not talented. So that just means another team might, want you. You might benefit them. So keep going. As long as you know you can do it, put in that work and just keep going. And things usually come into fruition that way.
That's great advice, because like you said, you've gone through ups and downs. Is your aspiration so you're 28 years old, right? 28, 29, I believe.
28,
your
yeah.
aspiration to potentially play at the Major League Soccer level?
Yeah, that's my goal this whole time. I might be considered like a USL vet now, but my whole goal is always to get to the MLS. I did this as a stepping stone to get to the MLS, and I'm still thankful for the years I've spent in this league because it's helped groom me. I needed to learn to be a proper center back. I needed to learn the technical aspect of the game, and all these things you don't really necessarily learn in college at all. The academy system is getting a lot better now. The technical side is getting a lot better, but back when I was in high school, it wasn't like this at all. I really can't tell you the amount of times that I was training with a trainer, just one-on-one stuff, or even like the visual aspects of getting highlights of your games. Like we never had any of that. And so now you have access to your games and stuff. Like you need to watch yourself, watch the negative things and watch the positive things, and more so the negative things to improve yourself. Video analysis is huge. And I wish I had that in high school, but those are little ways to just upgrade your game and not necessarily focusing on like the cool highlights, but watching yourself and fixing those mechanics. It goes a long way.
Did you have any mentors that kind of guided you through the entire professional playing experience?
Not necessarily. I would say, my father just kept me level-headed. Like a lot of this journey has been by myself, and it's been a lot of frustration and a lot of I might be an 8-year pro, but after my 4th year, I had no contract and I had a trial again, like a rookie for a contract in Pittsburgh. I tried out for NCFC. Going into my 5th year, I got cut. So then I had to go to the Riverhounds and try out all over again for my contract. So no matter how many years you've been a pro, like you're always going to have to go through these trials and tribulations sometimes just to prove yourself. So for me, it wasn't necessarily like someone telling me to fix certain things. I had to fix everything on my own, but I had a good support system to tell me to keep going. Hugh, like I know this sucks. I know it's frustrating, but you got this, and keep going. Honestly, that goes so much further than like, but if you don't have through those tough, difficult times, someone to lean on, like you're probably going to eat yourself up. And a lot of times you see people retiring just because they didn't want to go through all that struggle anymore.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. I know, again, just being a professional athlete takes a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of commitment. And like you said, you've been through your ups and downs, so that's excellent advice for any young player who's looking to pursue a future career. So you also helped to co-found the United Soccer League Black Players Alliance. And I know that is a foundation that you all are extremely passionate about. And you also have your own podcast as well. Can we discuss a little bit more about the Alliance? What is its mission? What's the purpose and its vision?
Yeah, so the mission and vision of the Black Players Alliance is to highlight and put more Blacks into higher places, i.e. like manager positions, CEO positions, owning clubs. Also creating outlets for us post-career. A lot of times we focus on our careers, but not necessarily after our careers, making sure we have right opportunities coaching-wise or whatever we want to do involved with the game. We're able to give us Black athletes more opportunities, but ultimately we want to give us Black athletes a voice. We've never really had a voice in this league. We've never really had a voice in this country. So now through this whole movement and everything, it now gives us a whole platform where if any instances happens, as you've seen throughout the USL, there's racial slurs being sent throughout different teams and stuff. Now, there's never been a scenario when our minority players had someone to represent them. Now we have us here at the Black Players Alliance to represent them and make sure that these clubs aren't necessarily lowballing us minorities. You see all the time where clubs, hire the majority and might only hire 1 or 2 of us minorities and kind of keep us on the back burner, but that also has to change. And that's the same thing with coaching as well, we're on a short lease as Black coaches, that we get 1 year and then we're cut and fired all of a sudden, where a white coach might get 5 years after a bad couple of years. Well, that has to change for us as well. There's only
Some
two
guys get
USL Black. You know what I'm
some white
saying?
coaches get
Exactly.
Look at Ben Olsen. Ben Olsen was there for 12 years. He won one US Open Cup, I believe, and that was
That's
it. Yeah,
that's what I'm
that's just
saying.
insane.
And we only have two USL Black coaches, and one of them in Hartford is doing very well, and in Tulsa, my man's doing very well for himself. But that should show you that we can do this, and we have been able to do this. So we need to create more outlets and opportunities for us, and that's what we came through, and we wanted to provide that for us athletes, and making sure that we're on the forefront and on a bigger stage with all this and our voice.
That's
This
fantastic.
kind of originated, way back over the summer. Yes, definitely through the movement, but through my podcast, as you mentioned, I had a couple of episodes, Black Lives Matter episodes, where I'm highlighting the players' experience, given, our journeys as Black soccer players going up in this country, what we faced through. And then also when I had you on my show as well with the Black coaches, which is very impactful as well, because people take that for granted sometimes, the coaches and what they go through, especially because they're older. It's like, who cares, whatever. But it's very important to have people that are like-minded for us players, and also helps us achieve certain things. Of like, oh, okay, cool, like this club likes to hire Black coaches, maybe I can be a Black coach one day that can help my other Black counterparts. And all these little things are all hand in hand that we don't realize sometimes, and that's what we came through. We want to change that.
And that's very interesting. So for everyone listening, the name of Hugh's podcast is called Backyard Footy, and it is an outstanding show. I will make sure to share it in the caption when we post this video. So Hugh, I've oftentimes received messages on the Black Soccer Membership Association Facebook page from parents, and a lot of the parents are saying, I've got a child who's playing on a team, but he's the only Black child. And I know I dealt with that growing up. I'm sure you dealt with that growing up as well. What advice would you give to that player? What advice would you give to your 12-year-old self if you were in that situation again?
That's a good question. I mean, I've dealt with that almost my whole life, honestly. I only had one Black coach, and I was in 8th grade, and I haven't had a Black coach since. I'm honestly still looking for that. But it's not going to be easy. I have to tell them, as I told myself back then, you don't want to seclude yourself. I know you're already the minority and you're already that oddball out, but you don't want to put yourself in more of a corner by isolating yourself. Definitely, my thing was, it's all about unity and chemistry on the team. That's very important. So at the end of the day, you still have to be buddy and, friendly to these guys, and make sure there's still a good level of friendship. Honestly, though, I really think now that I'm a coach, I really think it starts at the coach. I really think that the coach needs to make sure that the whole culture within the team, where that Black player feels comfortable to open up and talk. Because if he doesn't feel comfortable, he's already going to isolate himself, because all the peers around him aren't himself and they don't understand. For me, I went through a lot of struggles and closing my mouth because I didn't have anyone else that looked like me. So I didn't tell all these people what was going on internally. I just put a mask on and just handle my business. But that's also a negative thing that has to change as well. We have to be able to voice our frustrations and our outlets. So, I mean, it's not going to be easy. I want him to keep putting in that work himself, but use the outlets like me, yourself, and definitely have him reach out to me too for some advice as well, and to keep that going, because I know it's not easy. But that's part of the reason why I want to change this game and bring more Blacks into the soccer world, because that, not just for him, that's everywhere, where there's only 1 or 2 Black guys on the whole team, and then you get stereotyped as a fast guy, or you get labeled as, oh, the aggressive one. You only can play as a winger or a striker or as a center back, because those are only things. Like, we all get labeled like that because at the end of these and maybe our full potential, so they label us and keep us in a box when we really can play as a 10 or a 6 and play anywhere. Correct. And so it goes a long way, but definitely keep going. I know it's not easy, but make sure have that good relationship with your coach and the players on the team too. It's going to go a long way.
And that's important, especially at that age, right? Because I think there's a statistic that shows 70% of kids stop playing sports by the time they reach the age of 13. And that's even more critical. And that's just not like the pressure from the parents. You talk about pressure from the parents, and then of course, pressure from your teammates, pressure from your coaches, especially if you are the only Black player on the team. I mean, I've also heard stories about female players as well. There's this one girl, I believe she is half Black, half white, but now she's at a point where she's 13 years old and she's a really, really good player. and she can't figure out, well, which group is she a part of, and she's playing
Mhm.
on a team that has majority white girls on the team. So it makes it a lot more difficult for her to associate with them. And then she may be on a team with maybe one or two black girls, so that's oftentimes very difficult for kids who
Oh
are,
yeah.
right. Yeah. Who are mixed
Mhm.
as well. Mhm. So,
Sorry, I was just gonna give an
go ahead.
example on that too.
Go ahead.
Growing up from even the Potomac Academy, now one black coach I had was a Jamaican coach, and he kind of found me from the rec system that's being here right now. Then we switched to academy, and we had a lot of minority players now through a white coach from Georgetown University.
Mhm.
But I'll never forget coming to him and everything changed. How it's really just the understanding part. So
Yeah.
because there wasn't necessarily a lot of minorities, my Spanish players were acting out and they're upset more so with things at home, things internally. But he doesn't understand that. So instead of putting an arm around a player and creating support, you just put him on the bench. You yell at him in practice. Now he's not playing in showcases in front of colleges. It's not because he's not talented, it's because of here and the understanding and the disconnect. That's
Correct.
why more black coaches need to get up there, and that's why we need more opportunities and more black players just to be together. So when these instances happen, it's like, yo, my black people already on the team. Like, this coach doesn't understand me. You talk to them. Like, all these little things go hand in hand. And that's why I'm still coaching now. I'm trying to work my way up there too.
Well, that's an excellent thing, man, that you're coaching and then also you're mentoring, because I think it's important that, young black boys and girls, they understand that there are professional athletes, professional soccer players who've made it, who've had to go through some of the things that they're going to. And I think by you all mentoring these kids is also going to give them a motivation to keep going and don't give up, man. So Hugh, I want to thank you again for coming on to the show. Can you tell our audience where they can find you, any social media handles? I know the USL Black Players Alliance, you all have an Instagram and Facebook page, I believe.
Yeah, so the Black Players Alliance was on Twitter, IG, and Facebook. Just the Black Players Alliance on all social media platforms. Myself personally, I'm on IG, Twitter, and Facebook. On IG, I'm Superhuman. On Twitter, I'm HughRob13. Facebook, just Hugh Roberts. And also definitely follow Backyard Footy. That's Backyard Footy, one word. I'm on IG, Twitter, and Facebook as well, and YouTube. And on YouTube, I don't just put on the show. I also give you insights to our locker room, game days, and behind the scenes content that you won't get anywhere else. I think that's very important too. So
Good
definitely
work,
subscribe
man.
and let me know what you think.
Good
Of
work. Good work.
course.
All right, I appreciate it, Hugh, and we're gonna make
Appreciate
sure.
you, my man.
Yeah, man, we're gonna make sure to post all of the social media handles and all your information in the caption. All right, so
Tag
Hugh,
me
you have
whenever.
a great holiday, and you enjoy the off season, and look forward to having you back on the show again.
Yes, sir. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and tag me whenever you get this up. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, Merry Christmas to you too.
All right, Justin, take
All right,
care.
my brother. Take care, Hugh.